the source. Eyewitness News 3 is next.
Good evening. In the news, Nevada legislators toured the low-level nuclear waste dump at Beatty today. A rezoning controversy is underway in Henderson, and also tonight a special look at a very special birthday celebration. Harley Akers will have sports and Doc Ross the weather. First, though, more American aid and military advisors will be dispatched to war-torn El Salvador. That announcement is expected to be formally made by the White House this next week. It's all part of an effort to steer that country clear of communist influence.
Official here says the Reagan administration plans to send no more than 26 additional military advisors to El Salvador. The list includes a Navy officer who arrived yesterday, 5 others expected to go in a few days, and 20 Army advisors. In addition, the official says the administration plans to request no more than $30 million in military aid for El Salvador, and possibly less. The current level is $10 million. Requests for much higher levels of aid and advisors were considered, but sources say they were dropped after U.S. allies, experts in the administration, and the government of El Salvador argued against an excessive U.S. military presence. Officials here emphasize that U.S. policy will be to emphasize a political solution, using economic aid to encourage the government to broaden its base. A top official today labeled earlier administration talk of a more substantial military role an error. Another called it the growing pains of an immature administration. Secretary of State Haig insists U.S. advisors won't be involved in combat or patrols. He says they will train El Salvador's forces and help maintain equipment. It is stressed here that most of what they do will be aimed at helping to keep out Soviet bloc and Cuban-supplied weapons. Policymakers here consider 26 more military advisors and $30 million in military aid modest. But they do expect some opposition from Congress. And in anticipation of a challenge, State Department lawyers have been studying the administration's authority under the War Powers Act. Bob Kerr, NBC News, the State Department.
A Las Vegas man is in serious condition this evening at Desert Springs Hospital after being shot in the neck this afternoon. The shooting took place in the intersection of Tropicana and Eastern. Apparently, the victim, 21-year-old Sean Toomey, began beating on a van full of non-union construction workers. Toomey hit one of the men with a baseball bat. Seconds later, that man shot Toomey once in the neck. No charges have been filed. A group of Nevada legislators got a first-hand look today at low-level nuclear waste dumping at the Beatty dump site. The state legislature has been asked to give Governor Robert List the authority to shut down that dump.
Close the Beatty dump? The governor has tried, but now it's a possibility under several bills in the Senate and Assembly. So a number of legislators, saying their minds were open, toured the site Saturday morning with the site's manager narrating.
In these older trenches, the ones that they were investigating, if all worst-case conditions were considered, that is 100% liquid and so forth, 17 years, poor containers, that the radioactivity would have migrated no more than 8 inches in 17 years.
In the Assembly, the concern is not what is in the dump, but how the waste is shipped.
The intent is to control the packaging and the shipping and the handling of low-level nuclear waste is what we're talking about now. And I'd like to see some amendments even added to that bill that would put some of the responsibility on the states that are shipping it. In other words, once our regulations become effective in law, I feel we will have the legal authority to state that any state that doesn't have the equal regulations and a method of inspection of the generators, the areas where the waste is generated, the brokers and the packaging and the shipping, that we will not accept waste from those various states. And I think that will go a long ways towards solving this problem.
One bill in the Senate is not concerned with Beatty. Its target is the test site and the spent reactor fuel buried there.
The legal precedent of the high-level stuff that is being buried at the Nevada test site and might lead to a permanent program of burying the high-level stuff. This material really, assuming it's packaged according to the license, is not a major threat to public health.
The Senate, then the Assembly, will eventually consider their bills, hold hearings, and combine the work into law. U.S. Ecology's site manager says he's proud of the dump but worried about a possible closure.
Of course we are concerned. I'm very glad that they came down. I think that for these people to be able to see, before the legislation comes to fore is very, very important. I hope that they'll benefit from their visit today.
No hearing dates have been set. Lynette Taylor, Eyewitness News 3.
50 people were injured today when violence broke out during a demonstration in Hamburg, West Germany. Nearly 50,000 persons were protesting the construction of a nuclear power plant when they were met by a force of 30,000 law enforcement officers.
Your uncle in the furniture business, Walker, is having a markdown sale on all living room sleepers and family room furniture. Our prices, selection, and choice of many fine fabrics have never been better. Remember, at Walker's, there's no waiting. Everything in stock for immediate delivery. And as a special bonus, your Uncle Walker has a fine pair of living room lamps worth $89. Yours absolutely free with the purchase of any living room. It's a great time to dress up your home at Walker Furniture. 301 Highland, just north of Charleston, right off the freeway. Isn't it nice to have an uncle in the furniture business?
Disasters come in all types and magnitudes. Hurricanes and floods make the headlines, but no matter what size disaster, the Red Cross is there to help. In Las Vegas, highly trained disaster teams like this one have responded to situations ranging from apartment fires to floods. The Red Cross goes where we are needed. The Red Cross is in its second century of service to Americans. And to find out what the Clark County chapter is doing, call 384-1225.
KVBC TV3, Las Vegas.
British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher has ended her three-day summit with President Reagan, and despite their conservative persuasion, there appear to be some differences between the two.
A full military honor guard was mustered along the driveway as Prime Minister Thatcher arrived for coffee with the Reagans at the end of her three-day visit to Washington. Mrs. Thatcher told reporters today for the first time that Britain is prepared to provide troops for a multinational rapid deployment force to protect the Persian Gulf. Administration officials said the two leaders were in agreement on all major issues, but conceded there were some differences in approach on such matters as how to proceed toward an overall peace agreement in the Middle East and how to confront the problem of Soviet and Cuban-backed leftist forces in El Salvador. The two leaders agreed that a summit conference with the Soviet Union should be held only if it is very carefully prepared and has a good chance of success. On the issue of resuming nuclear arms talks with the Soviet Union, Mrs. Thatcher indicated that she and Western leaders in Europe were prepared to be patient in their desire to see the administration resume nuclear arms talks with the Soviet Union. Administration sources say those talks, probably at a middle diplomatic level, are likely to begin soon. In making his toast at last night's dinner at the British Embassy, President Reagan continued his frequent criticism of the Soviet Union, suggesting that the days of communism are numbered.
Prime Minister, everyone, or everywhere where when one looks, these days the cult of the state is dying. And I wonder if you and I and other leaders of the West should not now be looking toward bright, sunlit uplands and begin planning for a world where our adversaries are remembered only for their role in a sad and rather bizarre chapter in human history.
Meantime, administration sources confirm that in addition to asking for money to develop a new manned bomber, the Reagan administration plans to request funds to reactivate two World War II battleships when it submits to Congress a new military budget of nearly $233 billion. John Palmer, NBC News at the White House.
Henderson City Council will vote this Monday night on a rezoning matter which has caused quite a stir in that city. It all began with a threat to bighorn sheep in some nearby foothills. But as we find out in our next report, it goes beyond that.
Some 250 bighorn sheep, a Nevada state animal located in the River Mountains, are being used to stop subdivisions in Henderson. Section 4, the area bordered by the River Mountains on the east, is now zoned for 1-acre lots. The Henderson City Council could vote Monday to rezone to 1/2-acre lots. Some people who don't want to be crowded say the sheep could be endangered if zoning is changed.
They're using this as a crutch to oppose the subdividing of Section 4, exploiting a natural resource in the state of Nevada is, to me, is asinine. And
Glassburn, who is definitely against rezoning, added that the sheep have never been a problem. Neighbor Mary Peterson says she is worried about poachers taking potshots at the sheep, litter in the mountains, and dirt bike riders, but she had to admit her real fear.
Mainly because it's going to overpopulate the area. We moved out here to be away from housing tracts, away from the noise of Vegas.
And so what looked like a movement of 20 residents to save the sheep is really a movement to maintain the status quo. As to whether or not they will be successful, Glassburn says you can impede development, but you can't stop it. Holly Eccles, Eyewitness News 3.
Mount St. Helens blew off some more steam today. The volcano sent a series of large steam puffs thousands of feet into the air. Scientists say, however, an eruption of that volcano is not imminent.
Just an old abandoned building. Nobody cared. So just for kicks, some kids put a torch to it. Let it burn? Let it burn, and the sparks could set off a blaze in the next block where people live. We spent a day fighting this one, trying to keep it from spreading. I get no kicks from fighting fires. That's my job. If you get yours from starting them, that's just sick, man.
There are 4,372 beans in here. This represents the number of pups produced by just one female dog and her offsprings over a period of 7 years, and no homes for them. This is Dart Anthony for the Humane Society of Southern Nevada. Jenny here was spayed by the Humane Society's low-cost spay and neuter program. Call us at 737-1166 for further information. Help stop the misery of millions of unwanted pets. Spay or neuter your pet. This has been a public service message by the Humane Society of Southern Nevada and this station.
Well, how about a birthday party and a stage debut all in one night? Well, for some of us, that might be a bit of a strain, but for one Mrs. John Warner, it was all in a night's work.
Elizabeth Taylor is still a superstar, as well as the wife of Senator John Warner of Virginia. She is glamorous.
3 minutes, fellas. 2 minutes. 1 minute.
Let them have all the time they want there, old boy. They're only making a living, an honest living.
The opening of Elizabeth Taylor's big show.
When Liz Taylor's around, others clamor to see her. Members of her family and friends from all over the country came to the debut last night. Hundreds of others stood for hours hoping for a glimpse of her.
I've been here for an hour and a half now. I will wait another hour and a half if necessary.
She's famous and she does a lot of, she's in a lot of shows.
But only those lucky enough to have tickets got to see Elizabeth Taylor at the theater. Miami Beach producer Zev Buffman is responsible for bringing her to the stage.
It wasn't really that difficult. I guess the timing was just so perfect that it just happened.
How good is she or how bad is she?
She's very good. She's amazingly good.
Trying to console me, Mr. Marshall. Chicago may be the noisiest, dirtiest city in the world, but I should still prefer it to the sound of our horses and the smell of our sailors.
For 6 months, Elizabeth Taylor will star in Lillian Hellman's 1939 play, The Little Foxes. It sold out here for 3 weeks, almost sold out for a 6-week Washington run, and without one advertisement, $2 million worth of tickets have been sold for her Broadway debut in May. Last night was also her 49th birthday.